So I've kind of got bad news. That amazing record collection you've been curating and collecting over time, as a whole, it's really not worth as much as you expect. We will discuss on this episode talking about records. My name is G.I. Sanders from NTX Vinyl, a small chain independent record shops in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. If you're not local but you are in the U.S., you can always shop online at ntxvinyl.com, and would love it if you'd subscribe here on our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at NTX Vinyl is the handle. Here we are again talking about the value of records. It's a topic that I talk about a lot, honestly, because it's one that comes up a lot. And that puts it in my mind constantly. And when I start circling ideas and seeing conversation online, discussing things with other collectors, value is always an interesting topic. There's a lot of people, myself included, who don't really care about the monetary value. It's kind of fun to look at. But if you're in it for the right reasons, and if you're collecting because you love the music and because you actually listen to the records, well, monetary value is secondary at very best, right? That being said, it is really cool to find a new album that is worth a lot of money, or discover an album in your collection that you've had a long time and now it's really valuable, right? And so again, it's a topic that comes up a little bit, and inevitably it's always linked to Discogs. Rightfully so, because these days Discogs is pretty much the Bible in regards to value. It's not the only place, but you can check eBay, you can check sold prices on auctions and things like that, and you can also check on Discogs. And Discogs is the most used app marketplace platform, whatever you want to call it, for tracking your collection, for logging it, and then essentially tracking value. But here's the thing. If you have your collection logged in Discogs, you have it cataloged, you've gone through and you've looked at each record and you have determined what the unique pressing is, and you've logged in your collection one at a time. I don't care if you've got 100 albums or 10,000 albums. What Discogs does is it rolls up all of those values. So you're going one by one with each of these albums. You're saying this album, okay, let's just take the median value. There's a low, there's a medium, and a high value based on condition, based on sales history, right? And you've logged each one of these. So each individual album has a quote unquote market value based on Discogs history. That's very important here. When you look at the value of an album on Discogs, that is determined by sales on their marketplace. So if an album sells somewhere else in a local store, it sells on Facebook Marketplace, it sells on eBay, etc. None of that is taken into account. The only thing that is taken into account on Discogs' perceived value is what's sold on Discogs. And that's fine, because they're the number one marketplace. So there's millions of albums sold on Discogs, which is what gives it validity, and is what gives those value. And the low, medium, high kind of scale is what gives that value and legitimacy, right? So you log each album individually. It's a very important point here. And then you look at your collection as a whole, which essentially all it does is it takes all of your albums, doesn't matter how many they are, and it adds them all together. It aggregates them into your collection value, and then you have a view of low, median, and high value for your entire collection. So let's just say that the low on your collection is 10 grand, the median is 25 grand, and the high is 50 grand, right? So then you go, okay, well, my collection's in really great condition. So it should at least be at the median value, right? Which makes sense. And so my collection's worth, what I say, 25 grand. My collection's worth $25,000. So if I want to sell my collection, well, The retail value is $25,000. But here's the problem. The problem is that value is per album. That value, perceived value of market value, retail value, is established because you entered each album one by one. When you look at your collection as a whole, whether it be hundreds, whether it be thousands, that value is terribly skewed because it is basically impossible to sell that collection as a whole, as one item, for that value. I have never seen anyone be able to do it. It simply cannot happen. There's a very low chance that you will ever be able to recoup the full market value or even a percentage of the full market value of your collection sold as a whole. It's a completely different story if you're willing to go one, just like you logged those albums one by one, you've taken your time to research and find that album and log it as an individual album. The only way to realize the full potential value of that album, or even a percentage of that full potential album, is to do the same thing from a selling perspective. Go one by one and sell the album one by one. If you're going to look at collection value as a whole, it needs to have a huge asterisk by it in regards to the next step. Because when people are thinking about value, they're thinking about, well, if I ever need to sell, or if I need to offload this collection, well, I've got this little honey hole here of value because Discogs says my low, median, and high for the whole collection is this. And it's really not reality. It's fun to look at. It is really neat to track, what your collection is worth over time. But just keep in mind that asterisk, because the asterisk is, if you actually need that money, if you actually want to trade these albums in for cash, then it's the same process of logging those albums as it is, then you've got to sell those albums, which is one by one. If you're going to sell as a whole, keywords whole, then you're going to sell at wholesale, which is at a fraction of market retail value. Does that make sense? So it's just one of those things where I have to continually explain this to people, and I'm sure I'm not alone. I know lots of other record store owners, and I have these conversations with them. And if you're a record store owner or you sell a lot of records, you know exactly, if you buy and sell a lot of records, certainly in bulk, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because I get inquiries all the time, just like every other record store, of, hey, I've got a collection, I need to sell it. Here's my Discogs link. And they send me the Discogs link and they say, hey, the median value is 25 grand. So, give me 20. And then you can sell it and you'll make 5 grand. That seems great, right? That's not even close to how this works. So I continually talk about this because I feel like from an education standpoint, it's so critical for new collectors who are just getting into this, who are logging their collection, and who think they are building this equity in their record collection that you can at some point cash out on. That's just not how it works. It won't ever be that way. And it's not just in records. It's in anything. Anything that you collect in bulk, the only way to realize full value is to break it back down and sell it individually. If you want to sell in bulk, then you're going to be selling in a wholesale scenario, which is a fraction of the cost of what the market or retail value is. So that's my point of view. I would love to hear yours as a collector. Again, if you don't care about value, I get it. These albums hold sentimental value in a much bigger and, in my opinion, a more important manner. But as it pertains to monetary value, it's always a frequently talked about subject within the vinyl community. And so I am continually thinking about it and bringing those topics here to you on Talking About Records. I appreciate your time as always. My name is G.I. Sanders, and we will see you again next time.